Hello, my name is Skylar Carter, and I'm the volunteer coordinator for the RSVP program. I'm going to be going through our RSVP volunteer training, and as we go through this presentation, I just ask that you follow along in your volunteer handbook. I want to start out by welcoming you to our program. We are so excited to get to know you and to encourage you and support you as you serve your community. I encourage you to read our welcome message on page 4, written by our program manager, Stephanie Gale. If you turn to page 5, we'll get started on the content of our orientation. So page 5 tells you a little bit about our sponsor, the Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission, NKCAC. With NKCAC, I don't want you all to feel pressured to, read all this and memorize all this. I just want you to be familiar with NKCAC as an organization, so you know that we are a resource available if any of the clients that you're serving as a volunteer come to you with any of these concerns. So NKCAC is an organization in Northern Kentucky. There are locations in each of the 8 counties of the Northern Kentucky region, including the 5 rural counties that RSVP serves. NKCAC provides a lot of support to the community, so it's things like electrical assistance, water assistance, there's Head Start programs, there's financial literacy programs, there are a whole lot of different programs through NKCAC. So really, I just want you to understand that NKCAC is a resource, and so if any of your clients come to you and they're really stressed out about any of these areas, encourage them to make an appointment with us. At the end of the day, I just want you to know that we are here and we are a support to the different agencies that you're serving and to the people in this region. Page 6 gives just a little bit more information about NKCAC, including the mission statement and the vision statement, and then it talks about NKCAC's core values being empathy, dignity, independence, and accountability. You're welcome to read through all of this on your own. Now, page 7 gets into some specifics about the RSVP program. So RSVP is the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. And our goal at RSVP is really twofold. So first of all, we're trying to increase the volunteer force within the community. So we understand that there's a lot of people who are 55 and older who are interested in volunteering, who have really important skills and abilities, and they're not really sure where to get started, and a lot of those skills are being underutilized. So RSVP is a program that is meant to bring more volunteers into the agencies that already exist, whether that's nonprofits or healthcare agencies, sometimes they're churches, just these organizations that already exist and need more volunteers. We kind of bridge the gap between these volunteers who are interested in volunteering and these agencies who are already serving the community. And then our second goal is really to build a community. So there, like I was saying, there are a lot of people age 55 and older who have these common interests of serving their community, and we create this space for people to get to know each other, build relationships, and kind of talk about what the needs are in the community. So why join RSVP? RSVP members get certain perks. So as an RSVP member, you get access to our mileage reimbursement, which helps cover the cost of travel to and from your volunteer site. You get access to our additional insurance that goes on top of the insurance that you already have. And then we have a lot of events that we do that are just fun times to get together and get to know each other. So those can be big things like we have an annual banquet where we recognize our volunteers, and then it can be smaller things like just a coffee and donuts where we get together and we just have a nice time and appreciate each other's company and kind of recognize the service that we're doing in the community and thank each other and get to know each other. Now, anyone over the age of 55 is eligible to join RSVP. There is no cost, it is completely free, and there are no requirements as far as education or income. It is completely free to you, and we encourage everybody who is 55 and older and interested in volunteering to join us. As far as coming up with volunteer assignments, what I really love about this program is that it is so flexible and there are so many different things out there. So we're going to find something that really is interesting to you, that is matched to your abilities, and that you're interested in. So just, kind of let us know what you're interested in and we'll find something for you. And then page 9 gets into a little bit of RSVP vocabulary. What exactly is a volunteer station? A volunteer station is just our word for the agency that you're serving. So if you're at a food bank, that is the food bank. You might be at a senior center, you might be at the library. These are all just examples of volunteer stations. And then your station supervisor is the person that you're going to answer questions about RSVP. They help you get your timesheets together, your mileage sheets together. they'll give you your meal voucher, and then they can help you get in contact with us, and they are your first line of contact about station requirements, activities. So if there's inclement weather, those kinds of things, they're the person you go to. And a continuation about your volunteer station. There's a lot of text here, so I'm just going to kind of explain what all this stuff means. This lists your volunteer station's responsibilities. So this is the way that you should be treated and the things that you should expect from your volunteer station. Your station should be providing you with safe working conditions. They should be training you about the things that they expect you to do. There should be a specific person, your station supervisor, who you can go to with RSVP questions, and that is the person who helps you with your RSVP paperwork. They should be making sure they're giving you your meal vouchers, and then all in all, they should just be recognizing that you're doing great service, and I want them to be, recognizing the work that you're doing and the sacrifice that you're making by serving them. The next thing on this page is our non-discrimination clause. So this is a really long non-discrimination clause, and I'm going to read it one time, and then I'm going to reference it as we go throughout. So stations agree to respect all individuals served and all RSVP volunteers, regardless of race, color, national origin, gender, age, religion, sexual orientation, disability, gender identity or expression, political affiliation, marital or parental status, or military service. All in all, what this means is we want everybody to feel welcome. We want everybody to feel welcome. We want everybody to feel respected. And so I'm going to reference this non-discrimination clause again and again because it's something that is really important to the RSVP program, and we hope that you always feel welcome and respected. And then page 10 talks about different categories of volunteer assignments. So this is a lot of just RSVP specifics, and I'm going to explain it kind of generally so that you all know what exactly we're talking about. So our first category of assignments is something called Healthy Futures / Aging in Place. And what this really is working with seniors and disabled adults. So there are a lot of things that fall under Healthy Futures / Aging in Place. That could be working in food banks and delivering hot food, transporting seniors or adults with disabilities to their medical appointments, and then that can be companionship. And companionship can be as small as, making one phone call a month, or it can be going to the senior center and sitting with the seniors and, playing games with them, talking to them, those kinds of things. Our next category is education. So for RSVP, our education component is really around preschool age children. So that could be reading to children, that could be mentoring, tutoring, family involvement, anything where you're working with preschool age children to develop their education. And then our final category is economic opportunity. So economic opportunity is really broad. It includes things like teaching financial literacy classes. NKCAC has a tax preparation program during tax season. It can be advocacy, job training, job placement, and this includes things like, helping people build a resume, doing GED classes. So economic opportunity is really broad. Now, these are our three main categories for volunteer assignments, but if there's something you're interested in that falls outside of these categories, please let us know, because maybe we can find a way to fit it into those categories, or maybe we can make an exception. These are the three areas that we try to stay within, and this is what most of our programs are within, but I don't want you to feel limited by this list. All right, so page 11 starts to get into some of the fun stuff. These are our volunteer benefits. So these are the things that all of our volunteers get completely free to them because they are serving their community. First of all are our recognition activities. So if you serve for more than 12 hours in a year, that's about 1 hour a month, you'll get invited to our annual recognition event. And these are just a really fun time where we get together, we have really good food, we have them in really beautiful venues, and we get to know each other. And then while we're there, we're going to recognize you guys for your service. So you'll get a plaque, you'll get a shirt, and it's just a really fun time. And I think it's a really rewarding time for our volunteers to reflect on the service that they've done in the past year. Our next benefit is the supplemental insurance. So a little bit of specifics about it. We have our accidental death insurance, which is up to $2,500. Accidental medical expense coverage up to $50,000. Personal liability insurance up to $1 million. And then excess automobile liability insurance up to $500,000. I am very hopeful that we never ever have to touch this, but it is there as kind of a peace of mind thing. So if, heaven forbid, anything ever does happen, the money is there as some extra coverage to you guys. Now with our car insurance, our automobile insurance, that is on top of the insurance you already have. So your car insurance has to be in place and it has to be current, but then this is extra coverage on top of that. And to be clear, this covers you anytime you're traveling to or from your station, and anytime you are serving at your station, you are covered by these different supplemental insurance. All right, and then our final mileage reimbursement, our final volunteer benefit is the mileage reimbursement. So we'll give you up to $25 a month, and that's to cover the cost to and from when you're traveling to your station. We understand that volunteering comes at a cost to you guys in many ways. It's not free. It's not like suddenly the cost of gas doesn't apply when you're going to your volunteer station. And so our hope is that by having this mileage reimbursement, that it helps to cover some of that cost to you guys. So with the mileage reimbursement, we try to make it as easy as possible. We give you a mileage sheet, and we just ask that you get that to us by the 3rd of the following month. You'll put the dates that you traveled, where you traveled from, and then where you traveled to and back. And I'll go over this sheet with you if you have any questions about it. But we try to make it as simple as possible so that we can just get you to sign and you can get that money that you're due. And then page 13 talks about some of the processes for joining RSVP. And we try to make this as simple as possible. So the first thing you have to do to join RSVP is complete your RSVP orientation, which is what you're doing right now. You can already check that off your list. After that, there are trainings, and these aren't through RSVP. So if you are going to a station and they require trainings, we ask that you do those trainings just like every other volunteer. Some of your stations aren't going to have a training, and so you don't even have to worry about it. But if they require a training, we do ask that you complete that training so that you have all the information that every other volunteer would have when they get started. And then after that, it is super simple. So the only real thing you're going to do on a day-to-day or weekly basis are your timesheets, and we keep that as simple as possible as well. So you just put the date, and then when you got there and when you left, and then we ask you to sign, and you'll submit those to me, your volunteer coordinator, at the beginning of the following month. All right, and as one fun little added bonus for our volunteers, we have a meal voucher program. So whenever you volunteer over 4 hours in a single day, you'll get a meal voucher worth $10 to be used at any of the meal sites listed here. So as you can see, we're over 5 counties. That's Carroll, Gallatin, Grant, Owen, and Pendleton County. Your meal voucher is good in any of those counties, but I imagine most of you will end up using it in the county that you serve. So you can bring it into any of these restaurants, and they'll give you a free meal. Now these next couple of pages 15 and 16, have a lot of text on them, but I don't want that to be intimidating. I'm going to go through each of these items with you and just kind of explain what they mean. These next couple of pages are really important, and so I want you to have a good understanding of what these things mean. So page 15 goes over your volunteer rights, and this is how you should expect to be treated as a volunteer by your station, by RSVP, by other volunteers. So you have the right to expect that your time is being used wisely. You have the right to have a clear volunteer assignment, so you have the right to understand exactly what it is that you're doing in your station. You have the right to an appropriate workspace, equipment, orientation, training. All of those things pertain to your safety. So you have the right to a safe workplace. You have the right to understand exactly what your responsibilities are so that you know how to complete them safely. And then you have the right to feedback and supervision for the position that you're completing. So you'll understand if you're doing a good job, if there are things you need to improve on, those kinds of things. You have the right to be informed about how your assignment supports your volunteer station's missions and goals. And basically what that means is you have the right to understand why the work that you're doing is important and what it means to your agency. And that kind of ensures that the work that you're doing is valuable and that you're not being asked to do things that don't have a real purpose toward your agency. You have the right to have your suggestions heard. So if you have ideas about how to do things, how to improve things, new programs, things like that, you have the right to say those to your supervisor and to have your ideas heard and listened to and respected. You have the right to say no to volunteer assignments. So if I ever come to you as the volunteer coordinator and I say, hey, we've got this new program, we're looking for volunteers, and it's something you are not at all interested in, you have the right to just say, no, I don't want to do that, and then I won't bother you about it anymore. You have the right to be considered for promotion, special assignments, transfers, and a variety of experiences. You have the right to an inclusive work environment that is respectful of all people, including those who are served, who are paid, staff, and other volunteers. And so that goes back to our non-discrimination clause. And then you have the right to participate in RSVP regardless of, and then it lists a variety of different identities. This is our non-discrimination clause again. Page 16 goes over your volunteer responsibilities. So page 15 was your rights, that's how you should expect to be treated, and then page 16 are your responsibilities, and this is how we expect you to treat other people and how we expect you to behave as you're performing your volunteer duties. As a volunteer, you are expected to support and remain loyal to the mission, goals, and philosophy of RSVP and of the station you are working at. We expect that you're open and honest with your intentions, with your goals, interests, and skills. We expect you to carry out your assignment to the best of your ability. So basically, we expect you to come in and put good work into the work that you're doing. We expect that you'll accept guidance from your station supervisor, that you'll cooperate with teammates, and you'll discuss problems, concerns, and suggestions with your station supervisor or with RSVP staff. So basically, if your supervisor comes to you and they say, I think there's a better way to do this, you'll be open to that feedback, you'll be cooperative with your teammates, and you'll just be, kind of a good team player. We expect that you be open to feedback and that you will be open to feedback. So again, that if your supervisor comes to you and says there's a better way to do things, that you'll be open to that idea. We expect that you participate in required orientations, trainings, and meetings. RSVP doesn't have a lot of required things. Mainly it is this orientation and then whatever you sign up for. But however, your station may have required trainings or meetings, and if those are required, we do expect that you participate in those. We expect that you complete records or reports accurately on time. So when you submit your mileage and your timesheets, we just expect that those are accurate and that you submit those to us by the date that we've asked for them. We expect that you ask questions and ask for help. So if you're not sure how to do something, we expect that you let people know that you need help and that you don't understand. And that's kind of a safety thing, and also just, being able to put forth your best work possible. And that you're respectful of all individuals that you serve with. And then again, this is our non-discrimination clause. So these are all the people that you serve with as far as, staff who are there, other volunteers, and the people that you are serving. We expect that you are punctual and reliable. So basically, if you say you're going to be somewhere, we do expect that you are there. If for some reason you can't be there, we expect that you tell your station supervisor that you're not going to be there. And then we expect that you are professional and respectful, and that you're cooperative and you treat others with respect. And these are just kind of standards of professionalism that we expect that you uphold. And then page 16 also includes our confidentiality statement. Confidentiality as a volunteer is something that we really do value. And confidentiality might be kind of daunting when you look at it from, professional setting, but it's basically keeping the information that you come across as private. So if you're at a food bank, for example, we expect that you keep that information private. So if you see somebody you don't go and tell everybody that they had been there, because maybe they don't want people to know that they're at the food bank. That is private information, and we just want to be respectful of other people's boundaries and of their private information so that they're getting the best service possible. Starting on page 17, these next couple of pages are about volunteer inactivity and termination. For most of our volunteers, I don't think that this is ever going to apply. I fully expect that, none of these things are going to be issues because all of our volunteers are phenomenal, but it is important that I go through this information with you when you get started. So we consider an active volunteer someone who has volunteered 1 month within a 6-month period. If you stop volunteering, you become inactive, and if we're unable to contact you, we are supposed to terminate your membership. Now, I'm going to be very lenient with this because I understand for most of you guys, if you stop volunteering, there is probably a reason. And so if you come to me and you say, I stopped volunteering, I had some stuff going on and I wasn't able to get to volunteering, you don't have to share with me any of that information. That is your, private information. You don't have to tell me why you stopped volunteering. But if you say, I wasn't able to volunteer, but I'm interested in starting up again, then we can renew your membership as an RSVP volunteer, and then you'll have access to all of your benefits once again. Page 18 goes through our corrective action policy. Again, I don't think this is going to be a major thing that I'm dealing with in my job because you guys are phenomenal, but just to make sure that you guys understand, we'll start out with a written or a verbal warning, and then we might move to retraining, additional supervision. We might reassign you within your volunteer station, so you'll stay at that same station, but you'll be doing a different task. And if that doesn't work, then we'll refer you to a different station. And then at the end of all of this, if all of our options have been exhausted, we will terminate your membership. This isn't something I'm super worried about. Most of you guys were never, ever going to have to deal with any of this, but I want you guys to have an understanding of how the process works. Page 18 outlines termination for cause. These are reasons where if you're going against our policies, we may have to terminate you, and these are a little bit more serious. So violation of program policy or volunteer station policy, demonstrated inability to effectively carry out volunteer duties, tasks, or timelines. With this one, we'll probably find you something else you can do first. We're not going to terminate you because you're unable to complete some activities, but this is within our termination for cause. Failure to complete required initial or ongoing trainings. Of course, if you're not doing your trainings, we can't keep you as a volunteer because all volunteers have to be trained if that's something that your station requires. Falsifying volunteer enrollment, timesheet, or other documents. We just ask that you be honest with us. Violation of our program or the volunteers, non-discrimination, and or sexual harassment policies. This is the one that I am most serious about. I want everybody to feel welcome. I want everybody to feel safe. And then soliciting or accepting gratuities. As we go through that toward the end of this orientation, you're going to hear me say this a lot, but we expect that our volunteers understand that they're volunteering without pay. So we interpret volunteer to mean that you are not being paid for your services. And then finally, no contact with a volunteer station or staff for 6 months. And this, as I've said before, we'll be very lenient with this. If there's a reason that you stop volunteering, we're going to help you, get back into volunteering. But just, kind of communicate with us so that we understand what's going on. Page 19 overviews our appeal process. So if you are terminated and you feel like you've been wrongfully terminated, you can submit in writing to the chair of our RSVP Advisory Council, and they'll review your termination and make a decision. Okay, again, lots and lots of text. Page 20 is prohibited activities. There's a lot here, but this stuff is very, very important, so I'm going to go through each item. I'm not going to read it to you verbatim. Number 1 is about electoral activities. So RSVP doesn't pay for electoral activities, essentially. So you can volunteer for electoral activities in your own time, but we ask that you don't wear an RSVP shirt while you do so. And it cannot be it cannot count towards your volunteer hours. So this is anything including electoral activities, voter registration, voter transportation to polls, efforts to influence legislation, and more. So essentially our grant funds can't go towards those things. The second item is volunteers can't engage in an activity that would otherwise be performed by an employed worker. Basically what this means is we're not going to put a volunteer in an employed worker's place, so we're not going to take anybody's jobs away. We want people to continue having those jobs. Third item is that we can't require a station to pay us to be part of RSVP. All of this is unpaid. So all of our volunteers are unpaid, and then also you guys don't have to pay us to be a member. All of our stations are unpaid, and they do not have to pay us to be a member of RSVP. Volunteers do not receive a fee for service. So again, we expect you to interpret volunteer to mean that you are unpaid. Grant funds are not used to finance labor or anti-labor organizations. So essentially our funds can't go toward funding a strike or, any of those type things. And then finally, this one is about religious instruction. So this one gets a little fuzzy because most of our organizations are faith-based organizations, and we do, respect that, encourage that. However, there has to be a line there. And what I like to imagine this as is an understanding of, if you're working at a food bank, you can never tell somebody, yes, we'll give you food on the condition that you go and you get baptized. There has to be, a line there where we're not pushing religion on anybody, but of course you can practice your own faith and you can hold that very, very dear to yourself. All right, and then finally, other policies. We have a disability accessibility policy, and essentially what this says is that we're going to be accommodating. So if you need any accommodations, communicate with us, and that can be things that can include a lot of things. So if you're not able to walk long distances, if you need to be able to have a chair when you're doing your service, and then other things like blindness or being deaf, we'll accommodate any disability, any accommodations that you need. Non-supported activities, those are, our electoral activities and religious instruction. Fee for service, you're not going to get paid as a volunteer. Non-displacement of workers, we're not going to take a job from an employed worker. And then finally, inclement weather. So if weather is bad, I just want you guys to know, please do not contact me and tell me that you're not going to be there, because I'm not going to know if your station's open, if your station's not open. Unless your station is NKCAC itself, I'm not going to be aware. So I want you to contact your station supervisor because they're going to know what's happening at your station that day. And then page 22 talks about our advisory council. So RSVP has an advisory council. We have members from all of our counties, all 5 of our rural counties. And these are people who are really engaged and really ingrained in their community. So they're people who have worked for nonprofits, people who have a long history of serving their community, people who work for healthcare agencies, and they give us information about, kind of community needs, happenings in the community, things that they think that our volunteers would benefit from, things that they think that members of the community would benefit from. And so if you would be interested in serving in our advisory council, please let me know. If you know somebody who you think might be a great fit for our advisory council, please let us know. And overall, I just want you to know that our advisory council does exist, and there are people there who are from your community that are looking out for your interest and out for the interest of your community. And then page 23 is our volunteer code of ethics. So there are 12 items here. I'm going to go through each of these. The first one being, you will ensure confidential treatment of all information, including information about clients, students, or the public served. You will interpret volunteer to mean that you have agreed to work without compensation. You promise to take an attitude of open-mindedness, interest, and investment toward your position. You will demonstrate a willingness to be trained, and you will approach your service with professionalism. You will serve with respect and consideration. You will not use the possessions of anyone you serve for personal use. You will not consume alcoholic beverages or use illegal drugs while volunteering. You will be truthful in the reporting of your hours and the mileage to your station supervisor and to the RSVP staff. You will complete required paperwork for RSVP as needed, and then you'll alert us when any changes happen to, your car insurance or your driver's license. You understand that this handbook, as well as AmeriCorps senior policies, are subject to change. So if there are any major changes to the handbook, I'm going to let you guys know. I will say most of the changes that we make are very minor. They're things like grammar, things like that. But when there are major changes to any of our policies, I will make sure I communicate that with you guys. You understand that you're going to keep your vehicle in good working order and that it'll be clean and maintained. Essentially what this means is we want your car to be safe so that you're safe traveling to and from. But then if you're actively transporting any seniors to medical appointments, those kinds of things, we ask that you keep the inside of your car clean so that it's comfortable for them. And then finally, if you claim transportation and you drive to and from your station, we ask that you keep your driver's license and your car insurance current and that you let us know when there are any changes to it. And then we have the Handbook Acknowledgement. We just ask that you sign and date, and then you print your name, and then you get this back to us. We'll communicate with you the best way to get this back to us. So that may be dropping it off physically at our office. It may be emailing it to us, but we'll communicate with you the best way to get this back to us. What you're signing when you sign this is just saying that you completed this orientation, you understand everything in the handbook, and that you've looked through the whole handbook. If you have any questions moving forward about the handbook, please let me know. You can give me a call. You can send me an email. We can talk about it in person. And I really do want to make sure you have a good understanding of our handbook. So please, if you have any questions, please just let me know. All right, and then at the end of our handbook has our staff contact information. So the first one there is Stephanie Gale. She is our program manager. And then Lisa Wiggins, she is our outreach coordinator. She does a lot of work with our stations. And then I'm Skylar Carter. I'm the RSVP volunteer coordinator. So if you have any questions as a volunteer moving forward, I'm probably the best person for you to contact. I'm the person who is going to help you find a good place for you to volunteer. Or if you're already volunteering somewhere, I'll be the person that helps you with all of your benefits and your forms. So please contact me with any questions you have. And I want to say thank you for participating in this orientation.